So terror sympathizers and genocide supporters from Israel claiming to be the fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv Football Club have been banned from entering Birmingham, my beloved city in the UK. Even though I wanted the UEFA to ban the Israeli football club in light of how its hooligans caused riots in Amsterdam last year and then Gaza Holocaust by Israeli terrorists, but this development is nonetheless a welcome news. Maccabi Tel Aviv is expected to visit Birmingham on 6th of November to play their Europa League football match against Aston Villa. In light of Maccabi supporters' terrorist acts in Amsterdam last year, there was a growing demand to have this match either cancelled or stop those hooligans from the settler colony from visiting this beautiful city. Residents were really uncomfortable. They didn't know what was going to happen because if you have visited Villa Park, you will see that it's situated in a very densely populated area.
We're standing outside the Aston Villa Football Club here within the Aston ward of Birmingham. Along with me is Councillor Mumtaz Hussain, our local councillor. Many residents have raised concerns about the football match which is due to take place on the 6th of November. Maccabi Tel Aviv. We've all seen those harrowing images from Amsterdam. I've started a petition to boycott Maccabi Tel Aviv. There is no space for violence or any thugs to come into Aston or indeed Birmingham. That is why I urge everyone to sign up to this petition. Boycott Maccabi Tel Aviv. Councillor Mumtaz Hussain.
As elected councillors for the move, we are the voice for the people, and this is something that the people of Aston do not want. So I strongly urge Aston Villa to reconsider hosting here in Aston. Thank you.
We were all horrified by the prospect of a bunch of genocide supporters and baby killers come to Birmingham and pollute our beautiful city. I call them baby killers because almost every Israeli has the blood of Palestinian children and babies on their hands because of their history of service in the terrorist outfit called the IDF. If you conduct a survey of the Israeli society, more than 90% population would say they support the mass murder of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza, both through forced starvation and dropping of deadly bombs. So it was natural for Birmingham residents to become uncomfortable by the prospect of these depraved human animals visit this English city. And today, the West Midland Police announced that Israeli thugs posing as the fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv Football Club wouldn't be allowed to enter Birmingham and watch this match next month. In other words, the Europa League match between Aston Villa and Maccabi would have only local fans inside the Villa Park Stadium.
Well, this had been brewing for some time. The local MP had called for this game to have Israeli fans banned or indeed to be cancelled completely. What we've had now is a decision from the Birmingham City Council group to decide it just won't be safe enough to allow the Israeli fans to attend this Europa League match in 3 weeks. They're talking as well, the club, about the threat of pro-Palestinian protests that could take place, which could create a very problematic scenario. And they're referencing what happened in Amsterdam around a year ago. That's when Israeli fans were set on in the city. There were various locals convicted of attacks. The Israeli fans were also accused of some anti-Arab chants as well. But what we're hearing from West Midlands Police, they're saying that based on our professional judgment, we believe this measure, banning Israeli fans, will help to mitigate risks to public safety.
OK, so it's all over safety concerns, but obviously this is all wrapped up in politics. What's the political reaction to this decision been?
Well, this has created a brewing diplomatic row. The Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar has called it a shameful decision. I will call on the UK authorities to reverse this cowardly decision. The Campaign Against Anti-Semitism group has said here it's yet another alarming sign of how British authorities are failing to ensure that Jews can participate safely and equally in public life. Now, it was only 2 weeks ago that we had the deadly terror attack on the synagogue in Manchester, and today the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, was at an anti-Semitism event, reassuring the Jewish community, saying about doing more to protect the community, saying he'd leave no stone unturned. Well, now we've had this decision from a Labour-run council.
For their own safety, yeah.
And we've heard from the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, who's issued a statement saying, this is a national disgrace. How have things come to this? Starmer pledged that Jews are welcome and safe in Britain, that he stands shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community and will use the force of his government to prove it. Will he back those words with action and guarantee that Jewish fans can walk into any football stadium in this country If not, it sends a horrendous and shameful message. There are parts of Britain where Jews simply cannot go. And that will be the concern that's created. There were some calls to ban Israeli teams completely from European competitions over the war in Gaza. Those calls faded as we had the peace deal, and indeed the Trump administration told us at Sky News they would intervene to block it. And indeed, normally it's UEFA that decides whether to ban fans, not, as we've seen in this case, the local authorities.
Yeah, with this, is there any sense that there could be a U-turn? Because obviously strong political reaction to this, or is this a decision that's now set in stone?
Well, at UEFA, they're due to be in contact with authorities in Birmingham.
Yeah.
They are bouncing this around government. No government department here wanting to speak about it yet. It creates an issue. Does Keir Starmer take on a Labour council? It will raise questions. Is Birmingham safe to hold international sporting events now if they can't protect the safety of visiting fans? And of course, Birmingham is well used to very potentially challenging football fixtures with Birmingham City and Aston Villa, local derbies, big matches as well.
This was after the Safety Advisory Group, the body responsible for issuing safety certificates for matches, informed Aston Villa that no travelling fans will be permitted at the match in Birmingham. A statement from the West Midland Police read, and I quote, "This decision is based on current intelligence and previous incidents, including violent clashes and hate crime offences that occurred during the 2024 Europa League match between Ajax and Maccabi Tel Aviv in Amsterdam. Based on our professional judgment, we believe this measure will help mitigate risks to public safety." While the safety certificate is issued by Birmingham City Council, West Midland Police supports the decision to prohibit away supporters from attending. End quote. Aston Villa too issued a statement which read, and I quote, "The club are in continuous dialogue with Maccabi Tel Aviv and the local authorities throughout this ongoing process. The safety of supporters attending the match and the safety of local residents," this is important, "is at the forefront of any decision." End quote. As expected, Israeli stooges in the UK politics moved swiftly to condemn the decision to ban Israeli hooligans. Opposition leader Kemi Badenoch wrote this on Twitter, and I quote, "This is a national disgrace. How have things come to this? Starmer pledged that Jews are welcome and safe in Britain, that he stands shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community and will use the full force of his government to prove it. Will he back those words with action and guarantee that Jewish fans can walk into any football stadium in this country? If not, it sends a horrendous and shameful message. There are parts of Britain where Jews simply cannot go." End quote. Since this horrible woman has been a genocide supporter herself, stopping hooligans from polluting a peaceful and civilized city is a disgrace. Of course she will find it a disgrace, since the most honorable thing for her to do is to support the mass murder of children and babies and starve hundreds of thousands of people to death. Isn't it, Kemi? Can anyone show this video to Kemi? I'm not in the habit of conflating Israelis with the entire Jewish population. I've never done that, will never do that. Well, not everyone in the UK politics is complaining about this decision. Local MP from Peribar in Birmingham, Ayub Khan, said this.
Well, excellent news for the people of Birmingham and, most importantly, the residents here in Aston. I launched a petition to oppose the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming to Birmingham and then into the Aston Villa Stadium. The surrounding ward of Aston is a ward that sits within my constituency. And I had many residents and businesses express concern of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming into our area. Clearly, we have all witnessed the scenes in Amsterdam, the violence that was displayed by the fans the night before the match. We all watched and listened to those vile chants of hatred and racism. And so there's no space for that kind of behaviour here in Birmingham. There's certainly no space for that kind of conduct in Aston. So I'm very pleased that both the West Midlands Police and Aston Villa Football Club have now written to UEFA informing them of their decision not to allow any fans from entering Birmingham and Aston.
There is a reason why there have been demands to kick Israel and its teams out of the European and world football competitions. In fact, most of the UEFA members had made up their mind to vote in favor of a ban on Israeli teams in Europe, but Trump announced a ceasefire in Gaza. In recent days, Israeli players taking part in the World Cup qualifying matches have had to face growing protest, first in Norway and then Italy. This is how football fans in Norway welcomed Israeli terrorists during their World Cup qualifying match. The icing on the cake was the crushing defeat for the sociopaths from Israel 5-0. The development in Italy was even more humiliating for the Israelis during the match, which Italy won 3-0 and kicked the rogue settler colony out of the next year's World Cup. Then the Italian broadcaster Alessandro Antonelli earned global admiration by wearing a black armband in solidarity with the victims of Gaza genocide. His words, not mine.
Grazie, rimarrà un corteo pacifico per 3 ore e poi gli antagonisti che erano attesi arrivati dai Balcani hanno fatto il resto portando agli scontri con la polizia. Un grande abbraccio alla collega Elisa Dossi, il che mi dà lo spunto per dire che questo è un lavoro importante, quello che si fa in prima linea, quindi bravi a tutti quelli che hanno raccontato con difficoltà questa giornata, e mi dà anche lo spunto di spiegare che cos'è questo fiocco nero che ricorda 250 giornalisti che hanno perso la vita, giornalisti e giornaliste, nel conflitto a Gaza, in quello che la commissione d'inchiesta dell'ONU ha definito un genocidio che hanno provato a raccontare. E questo è un fatto, purtroppo a casa non sono tornati.
I refuse to believe that ordinary people in the West too have their humanity dead, just like their compromised politicians. Last year's development in Amsterdam and how fans behaved in Norway and Italy in recent days show one thing, that Israelis have rightly become the most hated group of people in the world. Nothing will and should change this perception. What these demonic psychopaths have done to Palestinians in Gaza is simply unforgivable. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.